The lady who ruled Bangladesh for 16 years finally was unable to continue her rule and finally resigned and left Bangladesh. Where Bangladesh stands now?
United Nations, their findings, which are very neutral, that she committed genocide in this country, killed so many people. The International Criminal Court in Dhaka, and the Indian government has been asked to deport her, to send her back, but the Indians have remained silent. It will also help us develop very important security linkages. The threat from India being so serious and the Indian behavior being very unpredictable, especially on our borders.
Indian intelligence agency RAW had a very deep footprints on Bangladeshi soil that was also used against the uprooting of the government of Hasina Wajid. Indian footprints were also removed by the resilient Bangladeshi people from Bangladeshi soil.
You're absolutely correct. Hasina, her party would never ever be allowed to come back to Bangladesh or to revive. The damage that has been done is so deep. Pakistan's cooperation with China, a very dear and trusted friend, and the very success of Pakistan has proved that India has been taught such a lesson. Indian Parliament, and it was absolutely comical to see the way the Indian opposition leader Rahul Gandhi thrashing Prime Minister Modi
BJP
and the
and
defense
Mr. Modi,
minister.
exactly.
I suspect that the Indians still continue desperately, to re-enter Bangladesh. Indians are getting kicked out in Nepal. And the question of India trying to argue that they have created Bangladesh is so ridiculous. The Indian army entered Bangladesh for 3 months. They simply looted all the arms surrendered by Pakistan. I suspect that the Indians still continue desperately, to re-enter Bangladesh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, today we will discuss the first anniversary of major political change in Bangladesh. On same date, 5th August 2024, the then Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Hasina Wajid, resigned and left Bangladesh under tremendous public pressure. What was the reason that the Iron Lady who ruled Bangladesh for 16 years but resigned, and following resignation within few hours, she left Bangladesh and landed in India. Since 5th August 2024, we have also witnessed significant improvement in bilateral ties between Pakistan and Bangladesh, which was not possible earlier during the tenure of Hasina Wajid as Prime Minister of Pakistan. She adopted a pro-India policy, an anti-Pakistani policy, due to which the relations between Islamabad and Dhaka did not witness significant progress. However, during last 1 year, there have been significant progress, not only in diplomatic ties between Islamabad and Dhaka. There have been significant increase in trade relations, trade cooperation. There have been exchange of high-level visits, including Pakistan Foreign Secretary Amna Bloch visited Dhaka, held meetings with the Bangladeshi officials. And in April, Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, Mr. Ishaq Dar was due to visit Dhaka, but due to Pahalgam incident, his scheduled visit was postponed. And later this month, he is expected to undertake visit to Bangladesh. So in last 1 year, in today's conversation, we would like to discuss where Bangladesh stands now, whether the Bangladeshi people have whatever they desired by removing that particular government. Did they achieve these results? Furthermore, we will focus also on presence of India in Bangladesh during the tenure of Hasina Wajid, where that particular element stands now. Has India been rooted out from Bangladesh? With the rooting out of the Bangladeshi government headed by Hasina Wajid, and what is the prospects of future ties between Pakistan and Bangladesh. To discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us one of the finest expert of South Asia, Pakistan Bangladesh relations, international relations expert, Professor Shahid-uz-Zaman. Professor Shahid-uz-Zaman has been former professor of international relations at Dhaka University. Very warm welcome to Program Insight in B News English, Professor Saab.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, how you see the 1 year has quickly gone. So, last year on the same date, there was very significant development that the party and the lady who ruled Bangladesh for 16 years finally was unable to continue her rule and finally resigned and left Bangladesh. Where Bangladesh stands now?
Thank you. It's an honor and it's a pleasure for me to be back once more on your channel. We have passed one full year since July, that revolution last year. That woman who ruled Bangladesh for 16 years, as we trace back the memories of the last 1 year, and as all the facts emerge, we see a great deal of rejection of that lady's rule of the 16 years. It was absolutely a devastating period that we fell behind. There was some economic growth, but then in terms of our institutions, in terms of our status in international relations, everything was shattered, and Bangladesh had turned into a vassal state of India. The way the lady had destroyed that woman who's supposed to be facing trial right now, and the process of trial has already started. She's been exposed with a lot of proof, especially by the United Nations, their findings, which are very neutral, that she committed genocide in this country, killed so many people. And now the trial is already moving on at the International Criminal Court in Dhaka. And the Indian government has been asked to deport her, to send her back, but the Indians have remained silent. The Foreign Affairs advisor had remarked that despite months and months of waiting, the Indians have decided to, postpone the idea of sending her back. But as we look back at those periods, the damage has been long term. Yeah, until now that 1 year has gone by, our institutions have been so deeply penetrated by the Indian intelligence, and there were so many traitors that had emerged, people who had been corrupted by the Hasina regime, who were the beneficiaries of the Hasina regime. They have been out to sabotage this government, and we are still reeling from the wounds of this Hasina rule. Inshallah, we are on the right track. And as you had rightly pointed out, our relations with Pakistan, which would have emerged in a far more deeper manner if we hadn't wasted the last 16 years, now seem to be on the right track. We've seen that the Hasina government had totally detached the people of Bangladesh from Pakistan, our brothers in Pakistan. And right now, there is a wave of warmth among the younger generation, especially, who would like to know more about Pakistan, our historical links, the way we fought together against colonial rule, and the role played by the leaders, the Muslim leaders of the subcontinent to create Pakistan. These are very important developments of history which are being recalled by, especially by the younger generation. And we are in a process of reviving the historical bonds. Inshallah, as you mentioned, the Pakistan's deputy foreign minister, who was supposed to come to Dhaka about 2 months ago, and the trip was almost going to be implemented, but then there was this crisis in Kashmir, I think. There was the Pahalgam event, which caused the foreign minister urgently to postpone the visit, and it's now going to take place at the after the third week of this month, I believe. And inshallah, we will see a very serious breakthrough in our relationship. There will be uh, tremendous potential to work towards a very durable relationship, and in fact, which will cement the ties, especially the people-to-people ties, and it will also help us develop very important security linkages. The threat from India being so serious, and the Indian behavior being very unpredictable, especially on our borders, we have a long way to go in ensuring that our borders are safe and secure. And for that, we really require very close security ties with Pakistan.
Professor Shahid-uz-Zaman Saab, the former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Hasina Wajid, of course, carried out some of the most disastrous things. She tried to suppress the political movement that was led by students. So, apart from it, she gave an open space to India to use Bangladeshi soil for proxies for different things. Ultimately, Indian intelligence agency RAW had a very deep footprints on Bangladeshi soil that was also used against Pakistan. So, how you see this particular development that, along with the uprooting of the government of Hasina Wajid, Indian footprints were also removed by the resilient Bangladeshi people from Bangladeshi soil?
You're absolutely correct. Hasina had not only devastated the institutions of this country by trying to impose a fascist rule, and really she paralyzed the judiciary, she paralyzed the military and the bureaucracy, as well as the police institutions. The damage has been unparalleled. And fortunately, after her departure now, the last 1 year has been extremely vibrant, extremely lively, and we have exposed through thorough debates the way we would like to, institutionalize democracy. There is a lot of confidence that never ever would the Awami League, Hasina, be her party would never ever be allowed to come back to Bangladesh or to revive. But then, the damage that has been done is so deep. She has a huge following. This is something amazing that we found out, that people who had seen the killings that took place during the last phase before she was removed, those killings were absolutely notorious, and very senior officers from the police, from the military, have been arrested. They're in the jails. Many of the senior-most Awami League leaders are in the jail, including Salman Rahman, the multimillionaire who had been Hasina's right hand in terms of providing the all of those mechanisms to steal away to millions of dollars from Bangladesh. It has been, in fact, the governor or our central bank had remarked that the amount of money that has been siphoned off is probably unprecedented in the history, of these modern times. It goes to several billions of dollars which have been siphoned, and the government is very eager to bring about the recovery, the return of the money from many of the Western countries, like in England and the United States. Many of Hasina's relatives have been thrown out of their positions. Her niece was a parliament member in Britain, and she has lost her ministership, and she should be facing trial. So overall, we have to really do a lot of homework now. The trials have begun, and Hasina is being tried in absentia. We hope very seriously that the Indian government would come to their senses and would hand her over for trials. Right now, the Indian government, the BJP government, has continues to be hostile, all in spite of the fact that we have an high commissioner who is functioning, but our relations with India is minimal, and India is making it very difficult for this government to carry on a transition to democracy because of the way they have infiltrated into so many aspects of our institutions. Even the military establishment has been penetrated by the Indian intelligence. But thank God, fortunately, they are being exposed. Many of these people who have continued their commitment to Army League have escaped the country and have taken shelter in India. But there is almost a great deal of effort to follow international standards for the trial. The International Criminal Court, which is functioning, is being constantly monitored by the United Nations officials, and even Western diplomats are given a chance to see the fairness of this court. So we hope that these army government criminals should be brought into trial, and the country will eventually be able to launch an election, have free and fair elections, so that our institutions can function freely.
Professor Shahid-uz-Zaman Saab, of course, with the resignation of Hasina Wajid last year as a prime minister, it was also departure of India from Bangladesh, and India wanted to impose its hegemony over South Asia. So one, it got big setback from Bangladesh as its footprints were removed, and second, India got a befitting response on 10th May war with Pakistan. Pakistani Air Force and Pakistan gave not only a befitting response to India, but Indian false narrative also got demolished. So I need your comments and analysis, particularly in the aftermath of Pahalgam, 22nd April, which led to a war between Pakistan and India. So we need your comments. How was Pakistan's response? Where India's false narrative against Pakistan stands now?
Thank you. In fact, that brief war was absolutely a turning point in recreating Pakistan's image in world affairs. We were delighted in Bangladesh. We followed very seriously, and every hour, as the Pakistani air power displayed tremendous originality, absolutely stunned the Indians. But the Indians, as we noticed very interestingly, were in a denial syndrome. They never, even today, they don't recognize or admit the fact that 5 of their Rafale planes were down. The Pakistani Air Force was magnificent, and we really were so impressed by the quality of Pakistan's cooperation with China, a very dear and trusted friend. And the very success of Pakistan has proved that India has been taught such a lesson that they would never ever dare to create the type of adventurism that they had done. We have been following, many of us have been following the proceedings in the Indian Parliament, and it was absolutely comical to see the way the Indian opposition leader Rahul Gandhi thrashing Prime Minister Modi
BJP
and the
and
defense
Mr. Modi,
minister.
exactly.
He was almost butchered, and
Yes.
now very slowly the facts are coming out. The Indians are coming out of their lies. One thing that came out of this war experience was the fact that the Indian propaganda was so vicious and so full of lies, especially this Indian policy of deceit in trying to promote the terrorist image that they use so conveniently against Pakistan. Even the United States has actually found out the fact. We were very impressed by the way President Trump responded. He was so full of praise for Pakistan's military genius. and the way he treated Pakistan's army chief, who deservingly became a field marshal and was invited to Washington. This was
Exactly.
absolutely unprecedented. It was glorious, and we simply relished with great happiness. And inshallah, in Bangladesh, we pray that Pakistan's military capability will grow further in the future and that our cooperation, military cooperation, will also depend so much so that we will almost develop a united front in order to counter the Indian menace. That's what I feel.
Professor, in the days to come, do you expect, do you see again India returning to Bangladesh? Although there is a caretaker government, interim government in Bangladesh, headed by a very noted and Nobel Peace Prize winner, Dr. Yunus, who is a very renowned economist. So, whenever there will be election or whenever there will be transition to an elected government, so do you think that India will try to come back into Bangladesh and will try to have again its footprints, or Bangladeshi people will not allow India? What is your take?
I suspect that the Indians still continue desperately, to re-enter Bangladesh. Many of these generals, including a lieutenant general who escaped to India, and many of these former senior police officials, they are reportedly in Delhi hatching a plan to sabotage the present government. The Indian law has, it is reportedly said, that still continues to prevail. In this situation, it is very important that we are able to upgrade our intelligence capability. I had always believed that the only way that we can totally undo Indian dirty designs in Bangladesh is to have greater intelligence cooperation with Pakistan, which is, of course, the best means to sort of ensure that once and for all the Indian intelligence machinery and their, the sycophants are removed. It is very important to upgrade our military's doctrinal structure. For over 15 years, the Indian Army generals had some interaction with our military officers, inviting them over to Delhi, making them participate in their training programs at their National Defense College and at their War College. In a way, they have tried their best to brainwash some of our generals, and it is absolutely shocking that a few of very meritorious generals even had in the past been on record to say that we will have to coexist with India as friend, that we can never win a war against them. We will never. This sort of myths had been created, which now we have to undo. We have to create a military strategy of confrontation and survival, and for that we are also deeply involved in an effort to improve ties with China. Hopefully, this government, which only has a few months left, will take solid steps now so that China and Pakistan, with Bangladesh together, can work in a manner so that we can prevent any Indian ambition. One of the worst things that the Indians are habituated in saying, they had not done so, but over the last 15 years, they have been claiming this vicious language that India has created Bangladesh. It's such a ridiculous lie. I mean, the Indians would have never ever prevailed over here had it not been for our freedom fighters. And the people didn't resist. Indians had their fingers burnt in Sri Lanka, where they tried. Indians are getting kicked out in Nepal. And the question of India trying to argue that they have created Bangladesh is so ridiculous. They looted our arms, for 3 months in 1971. After the Indian army entered Bangladesh, for 3 months, they simply looted all the arms surrendered by Pakistan. One of our majors, the sector's commander, shot at the Indian army, tried to resist them, and Major Jalil, his name, and the Indians, they simply locked him up in the cantonment. He could have died. So the Indian experience in Bangladesh was absolutely ridiculous. They were invaders. We never required them to give any help. We may have taken more time in 1971. Unfortunately, the Indians took advantage of the between misunderstanding between two brothers. Now, as we recall, our officers, retired officers, very proudly recall their experiences, their times with the Pakistan Army. We wish to have very close joint training, joint exercises. We wish to have doctrinal, readjustments so that our officers and our Jawans can learn the type of training, upgrade the type of training that Pakistan maintains. That's what we wish to do.
And as you rightly pointed out, that there could be growing cooperation among China, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Strategically, very, very important proposal you have floated that if this cooperation increases, then, of course, with the help of China and Pakistan, it will not be possible for India to make entry into Bangladesh again. And another point you said that there is a conspiracy being hatched in New Delhi again to create disturbance in Dhaka. This is very, very important thing. So I would now like to, recently Pakistani Interior Minister, Mr. Mohsen Naqvi visited Dhaka. He held meeting with the top Bangladeshi leaders. And previously he visited, of course, Kabul, Tehran, and a number of other countries in Asia. What do you think is this means that there could be a new bloc minus SARC, because India is a major stumbling block in the progress or in the revival of SARC. So do you think there should be another bloc consisting of Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, China, Pakistan, Iran, Afghanistan, minus India?
I would think so. It makes perfect sense. India has sabotaged SARC. India has refused to interact with Pakistan. It's been isolated worldwide. India has actually no friends now. And a very amusing reality is that in recent times, Indians are now talking about reviving SARC. The foreign minister has been totally bombarded in the parliament that how come BJP has failed to win the trust of not even a single South Asian neighbor. And there was nothing they could say. Even if the Indians are talking of reviving SARC now, we should never trust them. They would like to be the Trojan horse. If the Indians are given a chance to again interfere, then they would simply break the wonderful the pattern that we are developing now with China and the other South Asian states and Pakistan. It is true that geography has put India right in the midst of this subcontinent. But then I'm not very sure whether the Indian map would continue to be the way it is. There are new developments in the Northeast. The people in Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, they simply strive for their freedom. And we have in the future a responsibility towards our eastern neighbors in the Northeast. Our chief advisor had mentioned the way we would like to cooperate with the Indian Northeast. China should have a role to play. So given these possible changes, it's quite important that we develop connectivity so that we have direct air links as soon as possible. One of the possibilities that we think of is even if India had behaved reasonably, we could have even have road links between Dhaka and Lahore. There is a train line that could have been perpetuated into a permanent.
India. This rail link and road has to go through India.
It is a dream, but it is possible. The
It is
Indians have
possible.
built these psychological barriers which
Mm,
exists nowhere in the world. Nowhere in the world would you see that train links, road links are obstructed in the name of security. They have, for a headache, they have tried to cut off the head. The
mm,
infrastructure is there. India has a train that runs all the way from Dibrugarh in the eastern corner of Assam near Arunachal Pradesh. From Dibrugarh, the train runs all the way to Bikaner in Rajasthan, which is almost near the Pakistan border. Every day, a train, it is called the Awadh Assam Express, and it is packed with passengers. It passes by the Bangladesh border and it crosses Delhi, Punjab, Himachal, and goes all the way to Bikaner. 4 days journey, but it
mm,
runs every day. If this is possible, then it is quite feasible. Dhaka to Lahore would take only 2.5 days, and we
mm.
could have a train going at least once a week between Dhaka and Lahore if the Indians would have been forced. But somehow I believe that if the Indians are cornered, if we can build a separate SARC, and if we can have China around, India will be faced with such isolation that they will have to rethink their attitude to the neighbors. And we, inshallah, a day will come that very soon we will have air links between Dhaka and and Lahore. There will be lots of tourism, and
Exactly.
I can see that from Bangladesh there are hundreds and hundreds of the younger generation people who could have availed the air travel. Where people go to Dhaka, Bangkok, Singapore, they spend so much money there, and from here a flight to Dhaka from Lahore to Peshawar, and there is already a great exposure of Pakistani, cuisine and Pakistani, the beauty of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Chitral, in around in the northwest, and where you have those unique culture. There is great deal of interest to visit places in Pakistan. So once air travel is introduced, we will have greater opening, and that way, a SARC minus India would be very close. And I hope that as the Indian Pakistan's foreign minister arrives, there's already a lot of talk in our media that there will be very serious approaches, agreements will be signed, and Indian effort to sabotage is finally being quashed. And we look forward to such a relationship coming up very soon, inshallah.
So it's on the same that you talked about. Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, Mr. Dar will be visiting Dhaka most probably on 23rd of August. As a expert of Bangladesh-Pakistan ties, South Asian expert, what do you think? What things should come under consideration, which earlier has never come under consideration between Islamabad and Dhaka, where the focus should be?
I think the focus should be on economic ties,
Mm,
greater avenues for economic trade. By the grace of God, we have just come out well in the trade negotiations with the United States. We have been from 35%, it has been reduced to 20%. The
20%.
tariffs, which is almost similar to other countries like Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand. 20% is very good for our garment sector, and there is great hope that our garments will flourish. Right now, our foreign exchange reserve is exactly $30 billion, which is excellent, I think, given the
Mm,
amount of deficit that Hasina had left within the 1 year. Nothing has been disturbed in terms of disturbing our foreign exchange reserves. It is at 30 billion. So we are in a sound position for agreements with Pakistan, financial agreements, long-term, financial deals. The important thing that we talk here is to not to bring about the 1971 issue at the forefront, the question of whatever is unsettled issues. I wrote about it. We said that this is an Indian design, and the Army League design, always to create the specter of 1971, pointing out that we have to settle the unsettled issues. These are not the priority issues. I have heard, I think the foreign advisor has said that we will not allow the 1971 dilemma to affect our bilateral relations.
True.
This is in fact a healthy perception. I hope that our advisor will make sure we will try to avoid embarrassing recollections of 1971, and we will see as much as possible that both sides benefit. Right now, I think the most serious aspect would be the question of security. Pakistan's security structure, especially our air power, is so heavily damaged. We don't even have proper, fighter aircraft. One of our planes had, collapsed, a very old aircraft, and we just can't go on, using old aircraft. We'd like to develop a greater cooperation, because a very senior Chinese air strategist has remarked a month ago that Bangladesh must join with China and Pakistan to develop a new air strategy. And also, there is ample room to develop cooperation in the area of cyber warfare. We have excellent, high quality officers. By the grace of God, our Air Force pilots are as good as you can recollect, the way the Bengali pilots had served in the Pakistan Air Force. We would like to maintain that same quality, and we would like to ensure that we don't fall behind. Pakistan has proved that its future defense planning is far ahead of the Indians. And in Bangladesh, we would like to catch up with it. We would like to see that the military establishment in Pakistan would feel proud of their Bangladeshi brothers in terms of catching up in the military realm, so that the Indians never dare to try to threaten our frontiers ever again.
Thank you so much indeed. Very, very important points raised by Professor Shahid-uz-Zaman, that Bangladesh would like to follow the model of Pakistan's air power, Pakistan's military power. And he also made it clear that, of course, Bangladesh and Pakistan need to cooperate urgently, particularly intelligence cooperation, in foiling any possible attempt by New Delhi to topple the current caretaker setup in Dhaka. Thank you once again, Professor Shahid-uz-Zaman, for speaking to Program Insight in V News English. And dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.